Good morning, everybody. What's up? This is Gina Ifoe, the one and only African superstar, back at it again. Last night's topic was so rich. I talked about romance schemes and scams, and obviously, the post that I shared from Sister Yaw's page on Facebook is just constantly getting more and more comments. So I decided to come back for those of you guys that can make the morning stream to dive in a little bit deeper as to why these things are happening, why these things are frequently happening. First of all, big shout outs to the customers of the AfricanSuperstar.com. Much love to everybody shopping with me and has been shopping with me going on 4 good years in a couple months here. Big shout outs to the family. Also, big shout outs to those of you that support our stream on a monthly basis that are members only, get access to pre-releases of music videos as well as behind the scenes content. And last but not least, all the African Superstar music lovers. I have a show to Saturday, and I've put a post in the community tab as to for you to vote for your favorite songs that you would, ideally, if you were coming, that you would love to hear me perform. Naturally, I'm going to be doing Ghana is Good for Me at the festival, and probably a few other songs. So please do check that out in the community tab when you get a chance. The title of this video is A Desperation to Travel plus a Desperation for Love is the perfect storm. Big shout outs to everybody who comes in. Make sure you like the stream and make your presence be known in the chat room. I ran across this video today on Instagram this morning, and it really just solidified, the dynamics that are leading up to a lot of this romance scamming and so on and so forth. So there's a video currently on a very popular Ghana blog of these 4 Nigerian men who jumped on a rudder of a cruise ship. I believe it's like a cargo ship. And they got on this rudder. So if you know what the rudder is this back thing on the ship that controls like the direction. Okay. And they were sitting on top of that. Their journey took them 14 days. They ran out of food most of the way into the journey, and I believe they said they drank seawater for 4 days. They didn't have food for I think close to 10 days when they were discovered, and they actually traveled to Brazil. Okay. So these men were interviewed, and they were kind of just like, the conditions in Nigeria are just uninhabitable. I decided to travel. I decided to go through this journey because I just can't be at home. And I find that many people on the continent, from my experience, have that very dramatic perception of their home. I've never lived in Nigeria. I've briefly visited Nigeria. And I do know that they have some, challenges, as every country does. I don't know if it's to the extent that people make it seem, because I know Ghanaians that feel the same way about Ghana. And so there is this like desperation to travel for some people. Some people literally feel like they cannot make a life in their homeland, which is terrible, but that's how they feel. The desire to move and travel is so deep that they're willing to do any and everything to do it. Okay, so when you pair that up with someone who is also desperate for love, we just have to call things as we see it. A lot of our people are really, really thirsty. Okay, be it the men or be it the women. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, members of the diaspora are giving ourselves a bad reputation in the international community because of the way we conduct ourselves, because of the way that we treat people, because of our outlook, because of how we interact with the locals whenever we get where we're going. And both men or women are trying to be predatory in a sense, in my opinion. They're going to these countries where they feel the people are disadvantaged. They're going to countries where they feel like these people are going to be happy that they're there, going to idolize them, and trying to use them for their own premises. And so when you combine those two things, you combine the person who is desperate to travel, okay, for one reason or another, plus the person who's desperate to opportune on these folks they think are stupid, they think are, ripe to be used, you get the perfect storm. And that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing here. I know for a fact that many Westerners have superiority complexes. When they come to Africa, they have this attitude like, yeah, you should be happy to, you should be grateful that I'm dealing with you. You should be happy that you have this opportunity. And that's the way they look at it. And then you have these people that are by any means necessary trying to get their objectives across of traveling, settling, whatever they feel. Yeah, so hello, how are you, Uncle Kunle? You good? Good. Yeah. So the situation is that both parties are trying to opportune on each other, which creates this dynamic. Now, can it work? Is obviously the question that we want to get to. I believe it can work. It does work in certain instances, but the way to make it work on a more frequent basis is honesty. Okay. There are, for instance, women that would be willing to take on partners, despite their situations, if they knew what the situation was. What's up, ATM10? Thank you so much for being here today. There are women that, because they want a partner, they will be willing to help you sort through your issues or whatever. Those of you that are back on the continent. I think the problem is the deception piece of it. And that is where we are, because, people are pretending to be interested in people that they're not for one reason or another. And we need to kind of get past that. I think actually intercultural marriage could be a very strong foundation for what we want to do and achieve in Africa. But again, there needs to be an understanding. I think that it could be strong because both parties didn't get to utilize, both sides. So you have people on the continent that are versed in the continent, and you have people from the West that are versed in the West, and then they come together and they become the dream team. But that requires transparency. If you are someone who, for instance, traveling is your objective, so you're willing to take any and every person that comes across your environment, that is unwise. And also women, when you are coming to the continent, entertaining any and every man that you see, any every man that tells you that you're beautiful, whatever, is unwise. You still need to operate with common sense. But this is something that's been going on for a long time, guys. It's not something that's just relegated to our day and age, our generation. These kind of things, deception in marriage is something that has gone on for centuries, because a lot of people want to benefit and they want to use the tool of marriage to benefit. I would say if you personally do not want to become a victim, you need to do your due diligence. That's all I can say. Even in some cases, when you do your due diligence, you may still find, and then just the nature of relationships. Sometimes you may start off well. You guys may start your journey together off well, and then things happen during the course of the relationship. Everything changes. There's no fail-safe blueprint of how to do it. But I would say rushing into rash situations with people in foreign lands that you don't know very well is so unwise. And also, to people on the continent, you have to understand too, in some cases, the same way you're trying to opportune, they're trying to opportune on you. A lady comes, and I've heard a story particularly about a Black American lady who came to Ghana. She met and married her tour guide, I believe he was. And apparently while they were living in Ghana, she was just like footing the bill and taking care of the guy and, all that kind of stuff until they could get his documents straight to move him to America. Once he got to America, then she started flexing on him because it was kind of like, yeah, I've invested a lot in you now, and now you're going to repay me for all the things that I've done. And in effect, it's kind of like slavery, isn't it? You're kind of like indentured to them. You're kind of obligated to them. Like, okay, they've done my papers. Or, in some cases when maybe you're going through the process, this person has the upper hand. They can report you to the immigration board and tell them, hey, this is a fraudulent marriage, he's abusive, anything to mess up your process. So some people, power in the hands of the wrong people, it can be very devastating. And I think it's unfortunate that so many of our people are not, utilizing this tool. I think members of the diaspora also need to realize that we've come to the conclusion that we want to proactively go back to the continent. Okay. We've come to that conclusion after probably many experiences and many years of ill treatment or whatever scenarios have motivated us to go. A lot of our peers on the continent are not there in their thinking. Okay. They haven't even experienced the things that we have experienced. So in their eyes, it's still an optimal place. They're still idealistic. Their exposure to the West is very limited, very biased, very skewed, in my opinion. And so, we've come to the end of the road, basically, when they're just wanting to begin. And so, it's difficult being on those different perspectives. I probably would encourage members of the diaspora to, probably align with people that have traveled before, experienced outside. I mean, I've met plenty of people in Ghana that have traveled. If sometimes they haven't traveled to Europe or America, they have traveled interiorly in Africa. They've seen different things. They've gone to the Middle East, they've gone to Asia, that kind of thing, because traveling does open your perspective. It's very difficult for someone, a continental, to have a world and broad perspective when they have experienced very little of that, even if they're, listening to things, watching programs, that kind of thing, for them to have their own physical understanding about how it all works. And they have the luxury in Ghana and Africa of not being Black. They are just a man or a woman. On a day-to-day basis, I don't even know that they would conceive their nationality or anything like that, because they just are existing. They're a part of the majority in their environments. There's constant reflections of themselves all around. So, and even foreigners are few in their countries. So, it's not even like there's an abundance of them. I think all these factors is what's leading up to this, but all I can really say, obviously, for members of the diaspora, is that you ought to protect yourself. That these things are rampant. That these things are out there. That people are hungry. That people are desperate. When I watched that video on Instagram, like I mentioned earlier today, I saw this video of these Nigerian men who, basically stowaways on a ship. And they thought they were going to go to somewhere in Europe. That was their objective. But the ship took them to Brazil. So naturally, the journey was way further than what they anticipated. and, and, they were so desperate, they were willing to set out on a ship, the unknown, go on the seas. They could have lost their life. Anything could happen. They could have fell off the boat. I mean, anything could happen. They were so determined in their mind, I need to get out of here. I'm willing to take the risk. Those are some of the individuals that you're encountering. That's how deep their desire to move is. So they're not going to take into context all your nuances and the fact that you've been through a lot. All they're going to see is the opportunity. And they might even wrestle. Some of them might wrestle. Some of them may be completely heartless. Some of them might be like, man, this is a good girl, or this is, nice guy. I don't really want to take advantage. But some of them, because of that hunger, because of where they are, they're like, it's messed up, but I gotta eat. I gotta do this. I gotta come up. My family, this, that. They have a myriad of reasons why they want to do what they want to do. So I brought this follow-up message. Big shout out to everybody who's here. I know it's quite early, probably in America. Yes, I know it's early morning for some of you guys. But I just want to kind of do the recap because, this is a prevailing topic Obviously, as we're planning on going back to the continent, integration is so important. Marriage is one of the tools that we can do that. But the parties involved need to be on one accord. That would be another discussion that you're having. If you're someone who's basing on the continent now and you're meeting people on the continent, you want to make them aware that, yes, I'm living here now. Okay. I don't have any intention of returning to the West to live or whatever, that kind of thing. When I meet people that want to travel, typically I ask them in an indirect way about what are their future goals. When I meet guys, that'll be something I say, oh, we're talking, oh, so do you plan on traveling in the future? Do you plan on living abroad? And oh, yes, I want to move to America. I'm working on it. I have plans, blah, blah, blah. They'll tell you freely when you ask them that way. But if you say something like, oh, I hate America, I don't want to be there, and do you want to go? Then they might be like, oh, no, I don't really want to go, even though that's their intention. Asking them in indirect ways have been the most forthcoming to me, because typically when you're there from abroad, they assume that you're either going to return to abroad, you love abroad, it's a privilege. They think that you would be temporarily in your African setting. So they're always going to revert back to, yeah, this person may have to go back or will go back eventually. And when they do, I'm going to be with them when that happens. Make them to understand, for some of you, it may not be an issue. You may not care that this person. Obviously, if you guys have a genuine relationship, you can help them. You can improve the quality of their life, and obviously as a couple, you want to travel with your partner or be able to visit your family together, those kind of things. But I think it just needs to be very well established what's going to happen. But then again, once you do the process for them and they get the papers, they then have the law of the land. They can leave you in the mud and there's nothing you can do once it is solidified, from what I understand. So it's very murky waters. I would say we probably need people from the continental perspective to begin to communicate with people on the continent, because in as much we can be versed and in as much we can maybe have our good intentions, if our counterparts are not on the same page, we're still going to have the same problem. If we sit down and say, you know what, look, we want to merge our communities together. Okay. Which is, marriage is used in that context all around the world all the time. Marriage for business, marriage for prominence, marriage for, financial gain, political gain. Okay. It's not unusual. I think the West has this perspective of a fantasy romantic marriage. But that's not how the majority of the world utilizes marriage, quite frankly. But if we were honest and we would have the meeting and say, hey, look, ladies that come from America, they're like, look, I live in America. I want a husband. I want kids, and we actually match make up people that are compatible enough to actually have a marriage, but both parties are going to benefit. Something like that would be valuable. I was inquiring with this young Indian woman several months ago. Well, last year, actually, when I was in the UK and I was working in this warehouse, because I was very curious about arranged marriages. I've been very curious about how that works and how it goes. So I was asking her what was her experience with arranged marriages and things like that. And she said for her, she didn't have to utilize it because her parents gave her a certain age. They said, okay, if you get to this age and you haven't settled down, then we're going to do the arranged marriage for you. But they were still trying to give her some space to make her own decision. But she said in her parents' case, they were both unmarried when they got to a certain age. So their parents went to an agency. There's an arranged marriage agency or something, or several basically. And they basically have these profiles of the individuals and they matched up and she is the only child of the product of an arranged marriage. And she said that her parents are happily married because, their needs were met. The wife wanted this and that. The husband wanted this and that. They found it in each other. And then their perspective was, okay, we're both benefiting from this situation. Otherwise, if we weren't matched up, we would probably be single. If we could come up with some type of infrastructure like that, I think that it would be, really valuable. But we need to get to that point where we can, come to the consensus that both parties are definitely opportunistic. You know what I mean? They both want things out of their relationships. A lot of people on the continent, they do want access to the West. And a lot of people from the West, they need emotional, support. And that's what they really want. They want a partner. They've already got the education. They've already got the career. They've already got, the material wealth or the finances or whatever. They need companionship. They need emotional support. And in that as well, let me just say this and I'll be wrapping up soon. Hello, guys. Are you there? I only see ATM 10. Please make sure you guys like the stream. If you guys should be on code. I know it's early for some of you, but hello. I've been talking for 21 minutes. Yes. I think also what is critical is probably marriage skills. We are dealing with a generation where a lot of people are very unfamiliar of how to maintain long-term relationships, how to have marriages, what their role should be, communication skills, problem resolution skills. I believe all these things, if we could create that, and maybe I'm talking to someone who has the wherewithal to, create something like this. But I think it would be totally valuable. I think if there was an agency where diasporan ladies who were looking for, husbands that were interested, prepared to travel, prepared to move. There are some people from the West that come for holidays in Africa. They're not ready to move. They just want to come and, things like that. But they're basing in America currently. These things, women would totally utilize such a service. Big shout outs. What's up, Drina Star? Good morning to you. How are you? Thank you for stopping by. So, we raised this thing up severally, but I think the way forward is some type of solution. I definitely think from the continental side, there needs to be a conversation of stop trying to use these people, at least go for somebody who you actually like. Someone you're actually attracted to, someone that you actually, wouldn't mind having a marriage with. And that way, yeah, you're going to get what you came in to get, which is your papers or whatever. But you also have a partner, and you guys are also able to have a long-term relationship, because this using and dumping people is not great. And then it also puts a negative connotation to intercultural marriages. There are some people that are going to avoid it. There are some people that are going to be too scared to engage. They might actually miss a genuine partner because they're very concerned about, okay, is this person having ulterior motives? So, it's in our best interest, both sides of the coins, to be doing it well. So that's what I have to say today about this topic. I did do a full hour live stream last night about the romance scams and how I believe that a lot of women are bringing it on themselves because, I'll never excuse people. They're having their bad intentions. A lot of Western women are coming. They know these guys are young. They know these guys are hot. They know these guys are, charming or whatever. And they also take advantage too. Passport bros isn't just a male thing. Passport sis is a real thing. Women are also looking for sex and companionship and whatever. And they will go and utilize folks on the continent for whatever, Latin America, wherever they go, and do this. So that's the honest truth. In my opinion, a lot of people that get caught up in these scams are people that are both parties are trying to opportune. Okay, the man's trying to opportune and the woman's trying to opportune. Okay, no different than what the passport bros are doing. Okay, the passport bros think they're going and they're meeting these feminine women and, oh, wow, they just treat you so good. Those women are opportuning on the men in the same way. Okay, absolutely, they'll marry you so they can travel abroad. Yes. Like I stated in previous videos, you're going to the red light district. Same thing in Africa. You're not marrying, the minister's son or the CEO of Cal Bank, or, you're not marrying these guys. You're marrying your tour guide, your boat driver, some guy you met at the nightclub. Ain't nothing wrong with an average man. Ain't nothing wrong with a blue collar man or a working man. But the facts are that, you know, the more desperate you are, the more in need you are, that will coincide with how eager these people are to connect with folks that they believe can escalate their social economic status. You see, rich and wealthy people are not eager to just be marrying strangers in 6 months, having babies with strangers in 6 months. No, people that are stable, a lot of times, they're not interested in that. Okay. The desperate woman is cultivated by a woman who maybe is getting older, maybe doesn't have children, maybe has never been married, societal pressures, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I'm getting old. Nobody wants me. Emotional reasons. That's what creates the desperate woman. What creates the desperate man is usually financial lack. The inability of him to be able to take care of himself or his family, his extended family, hunger, lack of this, that, the other. And they see how, for instance, rich men get the full law of the land. They can have any woman they want. They can do whatever they want, even if they're old. Even if they're old or anything like that. So I think these things, obviously, I'm always interested to examine the root cause about why a lot of these things are happening, so that we can begin to formulate, the way forward. But as it stands, you need to do your due diligence. You need to research. You need to take your time. One of the biggest red flags is urgency. Okay. This man is 30, 40 something years old, whatever. And you met him 2 weeks ago and the pressure is on. Baby, I want to marry you. Baby, I want to have a kid. Baby, I want to do. Where is this urgency coming from? Where has this urgency been for 30 years, 40 years? What's happening? That urgency is there because they're trying to get into position before you get a full spectrum of the situation. That's a fact. Urgency is one of the very telltale signs of any scam, not just romance scam, any scam. They're going to, when you watch, probably even during this broadcast, there's going to be a scam vert, whatever, during my thing. One of the things they do, oh, we only have 10 spots. Oh, this is closing in 10 minutes. Oh, this opportunity, once it goes, it'll never come back. It's always urgency with scams. You got to do it right now. You're going to miss out. You've been seeing this guru on YouTube for years now. There ain't nothing running out. Same thing with these folks you're meeting. Same things. I mean, I shouldn't have to tell adult age people even that are my senior, these kind of things. But apparently, people don't recognize what's happening. And then the fantasy piece is a huge part of it. People are willing to circumvent reality because they want fantasy. They want to believe, even though it's not there, they want it. So that's today's message so far. Big shout out to the 2 people that were in my chat room. Much love to you today. And thank you for being on code. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you check out the music. For all the African Superstar music lovers, please check the community tab, because I have a show Saturday and I'm going to take your opinions into consideration as to which songs I should perform. Until we meet again, stay black and true. If you ain't black, just stay true.